In an age of darkness.
May God have mercy upon your souls.
Something's wrong. Something's amiss.
And a time of evil.
You shall die!
When the world needed a hero.
This one was all. I want to die!
What it got was him.
Groovy. You know your shoelace is untied.
He's a 20th century guy.
For that arrogance, I shall see you dead.
Trapped in the Middle Ages.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. This is my boomstick.
Now, let's talk about how I get back home.
Foretold by a mystical book.
Within its pages are passages that can send you back to your time.
Forewarned by a wise man.
You must recite the words Klaatu, Berata, Niktu.
I got it.
Fulfilled by a wise guy.
Klaatu, Berata.
When thou misspoke the words, the army of the dead awoke.
Now he's got a date.
Give me some sugar, baby.
With the army of darkness.
You found me beautiful once.
Honey, you got real ugly.
Sound the trumpets. Raise the drawbridge. Drop the Oldsmobile. From Sam Raimi.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
Director of Darkman. Comes Army of Darkness. They live. They breathe. They suck. Army of Darkness.
Hi everybody, and welcome once again to GeekFest Rants. My name is Carlos Perone, and joining me here I have our two Steves. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello. Give me some sugar, baby.
Well, if anybody knows what Steve's talking about, we are about to do a commentary on one of the, I guess you can call them the Evil Dead films, but we're not starting in the beginning. We're going straight to number backwards. 3. This is a different type of Evil Dead compared to the first two. And this
it's
is
the
probably,
medieval Dead.
Yeah, there you go. And this is probably the first one I actually saw in the movie theater.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
First one I saw in the
Me
theater.
too.
Steve,
Proud to say.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about how this film came about? And I mean, we'll go deep into it once we start playing it. But just a quick little...
real quickly, the point of the idea behind this was Army of Darkness was originally thought of as the sequel to Evil Dead, but they didn't know if they were if they had the money to do it, if there was the interest to do it. They certainly didn't have the money to do it, and so they made Evil Dead 2 as sort of a placeholder. You know, Evil Dead 2 is kind of a sequel/remake of the original, but it sets up Army of Darkness. I think the idea was originally they wanted to do Army of Darkness as the second film, but it was really the popularity of Darkman that gave Raimi the cred to do Army of Darkness.
I saw that in the theater too.
Yeah, so did I. So, I mean, we'll talk about it much more detail later, but... you know, it's the third and hopefully not the last.
Yes. Now
we'll talk about that too.
Mm-hmm. Now we are going to be watching a Blu-ray version. Now, this is again something we're going to talk about later because there's many different versions of this, with some of them with extras and deleted scenes and yada 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 and recuts and yada yada. This is the Blu-ray normal version we're going to watch today.
This is the original theatrical version.
Right. So,
for those of you in the know, this is the S-Mart ending.
Mm-hmm. Shop Smart.
Shop S-Mart.
Everybody queue up your players and your DVDs, and I have it here on the different menus that show you play on top. I'm about to hit play right now. And we start with the usual FBI warnings, which, as we mentioned on our last commentary, we
do not condone.
We strictly followed all these guidelines.
Nor have we ever engaged in such behavior.
Or profited, or even not profited from that kind of behavior. We are not affiliates or employees of anything having to do with this, and it is an R-rated film. And it says horror and violence, but it's kind of a comedy, as far as I'm concerned.
Comedy? Comedy, fantasy.
Fantasy, comedy, horror, mishmash. We have the Universal logo The more modern one.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the latest one, but it's a modern one.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're going to talk about it later because there's so many versions of this DVD and Blu-ray floating around. I can't keep up with.
A lot of them are out of print.
Well, you asked the question about trying to define what type of movie Army of Darkness is. What type of movie is Evil Dead 2? I mean, Evil Dead 1 is a straight up horror film.
Yeah.
Okay, what type of movie is Evil Dead 2?
I would say it's a horror film with comedic
slapstick
maybe
horror.
I don't know if you can call
Three
it a
Stooges horror film.
Yeah,
It's not a black comedy. It's something else.
And I mean, this is an homage to Ray Harryhausen, this film.
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, listen to this music. I mean, obviously you can't listen to it at home, but I'm going to use some of it. It's grandiose and classical.
Now, the only piece of music that Danny Elfman contributed to this is the March of the Dead. The rest of this, I'm not quite sure. We'll see in the credits who the composer is.
there he is.
There's our guy.
Bruce.
We've all had the pleasure of
They call
meeting
me
Bruce. And there's no sense of continuity between the original. I mean, you know, he was a college kid in the first one, right? I mean, this backstory is created for the movie.
And created after the fact.
Right.
Is that, what's her face?
Bridget Fonda.
Holy crap.
There's the Oldsmobile.
So they're retelling again the story.
Again.
Yes. Retelling for the second time.
In a different way. Although, Linda was in Evil Dead 2. Was a character in Evil Dead 2.
But it wasn't that actress.
Oh, no.
The Book of the Dead.
And a lot of, I mean, this prologue intermingles original footage from Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks
reshot stuff.
Yeah.
Looks kind of old, some of that stuff. This looks like stop motion, not creatures, but book.
Mm-hmm.
Stop motion book. See, that's reshot.
Yeah. Oh, this is all reshot. Actually, I think the only original footage from Evil Dead 2, it starts when he's well, that's from it. But when he
Well, some of the book stuff look original.
that's also this is shot for Army of Darkness.
Wow.
It's when it's coming right up.
This is from Evil Dead 2.
This is from Evil Dead 2, yeah. And when he's got
That's
the
Evil Dead
white
2.
in his hair,
Yeah.
this is Evil Dead 2.
That's how we remember it ending,
Yes.
more or less.
But actually, when it ends,
He's
in the past.
He's in the past.
He lands
Yeah.
somewhere.
So he lands. The car lands, and he lands, and then
And it's Sam
Friends.
Raimi who says, "Hail, he
Right.
who comes from the sky to deliver us from the
Right.
Deadites." I love
The
Bruce
flying
Campbell versus the Army of
the
Darkness.
flying skull with the right. It looks like a bat.
Yep.
Like a dead bat. Deadite.
Yeah, this is the last of the Evil Dead 2 footage.
Look at those boards.
So
And that's
apparently,
just
when
like-
they did
that's
that
forced
stunt,
perspective, right?
so they did that stunt. They dropped the olds, right? They had a 25-ton crane. There was an accident, and the crane wasn't heavy enough, and it toppled over the edge of that quarry. So they had to redo it with
God.
like an 80-ton crane. Had to lift up the 25-ton crane, and then they redid the shot. But they used part of it.
Bruce has put on a few pounds since Evil Dead 2.
Yeah,
he's a lot more
he's
filled
a lot
out.
older too.
Well, no, it's not that much. This is like 5 years later.
Oh,
He's essentially Raimi's version of Daffy Duck. Because
He loves
he just
abusing
takes
him.
such great pleasure in abusing the hell out of Bruce Campbell.
He does.
And this movie was no exception because Bruce gets his ass kicked.
Plus, he's shooting. They're shooting this at like Vasquez Rocks and Bronson Canyon. It's like
Mr. Pitt.
150 degrees.
Right.
It's Chancellor Palpatine from Clone Wars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he died. He just died.
Yes,
like 2 years ago.
I do remember he passed away.
Henry the Red, some character. He has no idea what's happening. But of course, we had the cameo of Sam Raimi's car.
Yep. Is it a 73 Olds? I don't know.
What is that?
I remember seeing this film opening night with my friends and being so excited that now, I mean, we can get into this later. This movie was delayed because Universal got into a dispute with Dino De Laurentiis. At the time, Universal wanted to shoot a sequel to Silence of the Lambs, which they did much, much later. But De Laurentiis had the rights, and they got into a fight with him about it. And this film, since De Laurentiis backed this film, this became sort of a bargaining chip in their fight. So this was delayed for a good 6 to 8 months. And I can remember being just so upset that it hadn't come out yet. And when it was finally released, we all saw it in the theater on opening night, and there was nobody there.
Yeah. My first memory of this movie is the fact that I got into a car accident on my way to see this movie.
Oh, Jesus.
So I think I ended up seeing it a few weeks later.
I guess this was the first film that we could see in the theater that was one of our cult boys. M. Beth Davids.
From Schindler's List.
Schindler's List.
It's quite a departure.
Yeah. And Schindler's List came out as the same year as Army of Darkness.
93? Really?
Yeah.
It was 92 or 93?
Schindler's List, I'm almost positive it was 93. Because it came out the same year as Jurassic Park.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think Army of Darkness came out in February. And don't forget, Army of Darkness was delayed.
Right.
So she could have shot it. It wasn't like it was shot close to Schindler's List. She also plays Mary Parker in these Spider-Man films. She's
right.
Peter Parker's mother. Doesn't waste any time abusing him.
For any of you Bruce Campbell fans out there, if you haven't read the book, If Chins Could Kill,
yes,
highly recommend it.
I mean, Bruce, he transcends the notion of like one of our favorite actors. He's just one of our favorite people. Mm-hmm. We just love him. We've all met him.
Yeah,
he's a character.
He's a character in person. He doesn't take himself seriously. He doesn't take the fans seriously. Jack left town. It's kind of, obviously people aren't seeing this on the same day, but we also just recently did a commentary on Big Trouble Little China, and Ash and Jack Burton share a lot of the same qualities.
They do. They're kindred spirits.
I wonder how many of these actors ended up doing Braveheart.
Well, this
actually more like Xena.
Seriously,
the Raimi connection, right? Isn't
yeah, Xena,
Lucy Lawless? Who's married to Lucy Lawless?
Whoa! Why does
Rob
that look so
Tapper?
weird? Look how weird that looks.
Yeah, that doesn't look good.
Why does that look like that? It's like Is it a fake sky?
I don't know.
Is it a blue screen sky,
It
maybe?
really looks a lot worse than...
It looked like a processed shot.
I also have to say, this is my favorite of the 3 films.
Really?
It's far and away is my favorite. I like Evil Dead 2 very much, and I like Evil Dead, but I like the original Evil Dead even less. So I guess it's sort of reverse order. My favorite is this one, ED2, and then ED1.
I like Evil Dead 2 the best.
I mean, as much as I like horror films, I just like the vibe of this film more.
That's a Raimi shot.
Oh, he loves the POV shots.
So Raimi.
Dope.
I wonder if Sam even gave Bruce a stuntman in this movie.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Some Dutch angles.
See, that looks fine.
Yeah.
That's processed, obviously.
Well, that was now. Remember that the Raimi was using something called intravision. Remember?
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
Front projection versus
Yeah,
rear
talk about
projection.
that a little.
Well, Intravision, again, we talked about this once before. When I took a trip to California back in '87, one of the companies I visited was Intravision. And they had done the effects for Stand By Me and The Fugitive. And it's this front projection system where the actors are kind of projected. It's kind of weird. It's a weird system that I don't know if they used anymore.
Oh, I don't think it's used anymore.
But it was very effective at its time.
Mm-hmm. She's already got the hots for him.
Jeez.
Why you?
Spikes. What is this, Flash Gordon?
Yeah, seriously.
Gordon's alive.
He's like he's in a rancor pit. Strange one. I love this. This is great.
Click. Huh. Oh boy.
Oh Jesus!
It's probably Ted Raimi.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if it's just me, or I think that the Ash persona over the 3 films, he seems to get dumber and more buffoonish.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's taking less and less serious as you progress.
Mm-hmm. Good sound effects. I never noticed those before. This is great. Nobody loses his shit like Ash.
Well, the thing that I noticed most on the film is the cinematography. This was shot by Bill Pope, who shot the Matrix films.
Oh,
I mean, he
really
is
went on
he is a solid
Greener
cinematographer.
Pastures, yeah.
Oh,
he
he
did
looked-
the Spider-Man movies with Raimi.
With Raimi, yeah. I love the extreme close-ups.
Who's
Who? You could almost picture like Bruce, the man, having a meltdown like this on the set.
Mm-hmm.
On a daily basis.
Well, if you had to go through what he went through, and don't forget, this movie made no money. I mean, it was another one that just gained its reputation over the years, but this was a bomb. This did nothing to help Raimi in terms of his marketability.
No. He had to go serious before he could get back on track.
He did The Quick and the Dead, and he did A Simple Plan, and he did For Love of the Game. I mean, all these movies that he did leading up to Spider-Man were not that successful. I mean, some of them were critically acclaimed, but and
I'm glad
he was a bold choice for Spider-Man.
But here's the thing: I'm glad for Spider-Man he didn't go all Raimi on it.
Well, he was very subtle about when and where he used it.
Yes, but he stuck to the main thing.
Yeah, he was more mainstream, but at certain moments he would go a little crazy. Like the best example would be
Transformation.
Well, I was thinking about the Dr. Octopus, the arms, the sequence where the arms come to life in Spider-Man 2.
Well, they gave Raimi a hard time with the violence in the film. They actually gave it an NC-17 rating.
Oh my God!
At first,
Really?
because of the that beheading that just happened.
The Deadite?
So I mean, it's not even a real person. So they go back and they recut it, and they gave him an R. So again, once you tack an R rating onto something, you're already eliminating.
Yes, that's true.
Its release.
And I don't know if this would have helped. I'll let him say it. Don't forget too that this is Army of Darkness. So many people in the mainstream had no idea this was the 3rd film of a trilogy.
No.
Is that?
And a hair trigger. He's a great shot. No, she's digging on him.
Man with a gun.
Oh, how do we get out of here? This is great.
Bill Pope is shooting Ant-Man, by the way.
Oh, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
That is very grainy.
Yeah, look how grainy that looks.
Like super. Ooh, hey.
Is that the same? That's the same one?
Yeah, the hair. Blow.
Crazy witch.
I'm not sure. But for some reason, I think that is Patricia Talman from Babylon 5.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure that's
we gotta
her.
see the credits at the end. Well, she used to do a lot of stunt work.
Well, you know. Now, it's something I've always been kind of curious about in terms of the Deadites. I'm almost positive it's her.
I could picture her doing that.
Yes. The Deadites, you know, you always in the first two films, and I guess in this one too. Look, you always see from their point of view when they're going after something. Are they invisible and then they possess you? Is that the whole? You know, does that sound right? Like if it like a Deadite's chasing you and you got the POV shot, you know, they're running after you. Like when they're chasing Bruce in the cabin in the second one. Are they invisible? Like, is he running from something that he can see?
That's a good question. But this is classic Raimi
Yeah.
with the zoom lens.
It's very 70s.
I love this.
Yeah, what is he? Iron Man?
Groovy. Classic. I think they can see it.
Mm-hmm. But they just have always chosen not to
show
them.
us. Yeah.
But then they possess you.
Yeah, that's a great line.
As a matter of fact.
Probably wasn't ready to borrow the primates.
No, that's Anakin, the promised one.
Complex metallurgy.
Like he would. And doesn't he have like chemistry books and stuff in the trunk of his car? Oh, she really smacked him.
Looks like a romance novel cover.
Give me some sugar, baby. Every line he says is quotable.
You know, that's... I imagine that's a matte painting, but it looks really good.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a matte painting because
could it be real?
I mean, the exterior and the interior is.
Is this Star Trek
real.
rock?
It's Vasquez rocks. Yeah. no, it is.
That's what I'm saying. It looks like the Star Trek rocks.
It is. Bronson Canyon. It's where they shot all the exteriors.
Are we doing a commentary for Bubba Hotep?
I hope so. One of these days.
Is that the Gorn?
Steve, you don't despise Bubba Hotep the way the rest of these primitive screwheads do.
No, I don't. It has redeemable quality to me.
See?
Has he seen it since that time?
Probably not.
There we go. Klaatu.
Carlos has Klaatu, Barada, and Nikto
I do.
action figures.
Yes.
I have extra Klaatus, actually.
And
Yeah.
what is the original reference from?
Day the Earth Stood Still.
That's right.
That's right, baby.
Those were the words. So 3 movies: Day the Earth Stood Still, Jedi, and this.
Does it seem like his hair length changes throughout
It
the
does.
film?
And I think there were some reshoots. Raimi originally intended to cast Bruce in Darkman, but the studio overruled them. Yeah, here we go. This is what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
No, good, thanks.
Yeah, I mean the difference here is the Deadites just keep kind of popping up out of nowhere, as opposed to formally reading the book and having someone get possessed. It's much more free form. I like the splitting of the trees. That was good.
Oh.
Oh.
Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, so he knows he's being chased. He sees something. And it's all brutal. I mean, can you imagine being the camera guy? The windmill.
This apparently was a reshoot. The windmill stuff.
It's great. This is one of my favorite sequences in the film. The little ashes. And now it's not. One thing I was also been curious about. I know Universal was hot to work with Raimi. Darkman was a modest hit, and they gave him a deal, and he did. This was one of the films that he did. And I don't know if he did another one for Universal. I think he was originally supposed to do The Shadow. I can't be positive on that.
Wow.
But did they really think that this was going to be a hit? This didn't exactly have mass appeal. I mean, they might have made this to make them happy. Oh, God, I love this. This is great. It's so obvious those other guys aren't Bruce Campbell. This is like Gulliver's Travels.
Mm. Oh. Oh.
Ah.
The spatula.
Oh, this is great. It's classic.
No, no.
Mm-hmm.
That looks bad. This looks
Ooh,
really
yeah.
bad. That doesn't look so bad. I hope Bruce got a decent salary for this movie.
Steve, don't look. Ah!
Oh, Jesus.
I'm sure by the time I got to this point, people in the theater were thinking, what the hell did we just come to see?
Well, like I said, this didn't have any mass appeal. I can't imagine. I don't remember what the gross was, but I don't think it was anything more than like 20 million.
Total, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Look at the puppet. Now it's interesting. I'm curious as to, like, if the whole windmill scene was something that was shot after. Now, in one of the alternate versions, he says a different line of dialogue. I can't remember what. Yeah, that's so not Bruce. Guy pulling him. This is pretty nasty.
I like how they use the windmill blades to...
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Apparently Tracy Lords, the porn star, auditioned for this film as well.
Oh.
And struck up a relationship with with some folks because she later appeared on Hercules or Xena, or one of
okay.
those shows.
Ah. He puts a grave marker there. I mean, really?
It looks a little. The movie has like also a little tinge, especially all these night scenes of Tim Burton.
Yeah, you think
A
so?
little bit of the fantastical,
Yeah.
horror-ish, Tim Burton-y type of stuff.
Oh, is this when he has to read the book?
Yeah. Now, speaking of bootlegs and not condoning bootlegs, one of the first bootlegs I ever got my hands on, aside from like the Star Wars Holiday Special and Superhero Roast, was the European cut of this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if it was Starlog or Film Threat, probably Film Threat, where they talked about the original ending.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I gotta see that. And I knew somebody at St. John's who, I'm sorry, it wasn't St. John's. It was that guy Jay from Laserland who had a contact, said he had a bootleg of this. And he got his hands on a VHS. The quality was horrible.
Oh, it was terrible.
And it had the
I remember
the
it.
ending.
Yeah.
And then very shortly after that, when DVD came around, Anchor Bay did an incredible 2-disc special edition where they had both cuts, tons of deleted scenes.
Now,
I think there's at least 3 cuts of this film.
But are the major differences in the cuts is the ending?
Well, the ending is the huge difference.
That's the big difference.
But there
in the
are
cuts.
other scenes. The other cut, the European cut, I think is at least 10 minutes longer. This is great. And even though like digital had sort of come around at this point, they couldn't afford it.
No. These are great masks.
They're awesome. I want my own Necronomicon.
Didn't one of the DVDs come with a book?
Oh yeah, it had, but I mean, I want
You
the
have that
book.
one, right?
Yeah, sure.
And it's like rubber.
It smells.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you mean they didn't bound them in human skin?
I think Tony has a Necronomicon. Let's see if I can get it off of him.
Oh.
I love how he screams.
Tick, 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 tick.
Get back to you.
Necktie.
Nectar. It'll work. I said him. Bruce Campbell has always been a hustler. You know, he up until Burn Notice, which I confess I never watched, and maybe at some point I will catch up with it. You know, he really had to work for his sing for his supper. You know, he definitely benefited by his relationship with Raimi in certain respects, but he had shows like Briscoe County, which only lasted a season. I think there was Jack of All Trades, which was sort of in the Xena universe, and that only lasted a season. But you know, he never, you know, he's the king of the bees, but he never really, he never cracked the A-list for sure. He's always been very self-deprecating, and he's always had a great sense of humor about himself and his career. But I think Burn Notice really sort of put him on the map.
Yeah.
Well, the show lasted 7 seasons.
Yeah, at least in a mainstream sort of way.
Right. And it, you know, it was guaranteed work for a long time. Oh. Stooges.
Oh.
Now that had to hurt. You know, I mean, that couldn't have been fun.
Away, my trusty steed. Uh-oh.
Evil Ash.
Now, isn't this Bruce in the makeup?
That's a good question.
I'm pretty sure it's Bruce.
I think so, yep. So, what are our thoughts on the Evil Dead reboot? We haven't really talked about that.
No, we haven't. I'm not a fan.
Really?
Well, I mean, we've never talked about it on the podcast. Well, I know. I'm sorry. I talked to Carlos about it. I was really looking forward to it, and the thing that I said back then is, I don't know if it's if I'm getting old and I'm just not into. It was so disgustingly gory, first of all, which is something that never used to really bother me, but it seems so excessive, and I didn't find it scary. I knew going into it that it wasn't going to have the Raimi feel,
right?
And I don't know if that hurt it in my eyes too. I was trying to go into it not comparing it to the original. I didn't like the story. I didn't like the main character. Honestly, I didn't like any of the characters. The only thought I was, and it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere as a franchise, because the only thing that made me sort of happy was the 5-second Ash cameo at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they still talk about the possibility of some sort of a crossover between the main character of Evil Dead with Ash.
Right. Well, the talk was that the next film was going to be Army of Darkness 2.
Right.
And then after that, they would have a sequel to the Evil Dead reboot that would merge the storylines.
Right. I mean, they must have some kind of plan. I don't think they just threw Ash in there to make us happy.
No.
But the film didn't really... I mean, I forget. Maybe it grossed something like 60 mil. It wasn't what they were hoping. How do you feel about it?
I kind of liked it, but I mean, I knew that it would essentially take the storyline and present it in a whole new way.
Right.
You know, but for me, you know, I love gore. I love that type of approach. I thought that the girl was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Her transition from being normal to being possessed, I thought was great. So I liked how gritty and raw it was.
Yeah. It certainly was.
It just, I think that if they tried to go for the humor, it would have been terrible.
I agree.
Because they would have been trying to replicate something that is impossible.
Yeah.
So by removing that, I thought that it was a strong modern era horror film.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a huge fan of all these hidden camera, horror films that they have. And, like, how many times can we see another exorcism?
Right.
At least I thought this was, a
I'm
bit
also
different.
I'm also not a huge fan of today's torture porn, Saw, Hostel, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, not really.
I
did like Cabin in the Woods, though.
Oh, Cabin in the Woods
that
was fantastic.
Great.
I mean, that's got the Joss Whedon pedigree. That was... No, I'm with you there. Best horror film of the last 5 years, I would
was
say.
really well done.
Excellent.
And it has its own sort of tribute to Evil Dead, the whole cabin look and the car.
It has tributes to so many great horror films, but it's its own animal.
It is.
Really
the whole
is.
collection, inside the facility where you have no idea, like, the complexity of the operation.
Right.
You know what I mean? They did a really good job in, just kind of spoon feeding you throughout the movie. It's like, whoa, somebody's watching them. Oh, they're actually controlling these creatures that are attacking them, and they have a choice. And then it's like, oh, there's gambling that goes on, and it's like this whole nother world.
Yeah, I totally. And I do like, in terms of modern horror, I'm enjoying films like The Conjuring and Insidious, films that are much more sort of ghosts, supernaturally. It does seem to be that they're trying to get a little bit away from the gore. Mm-hmm. And I've never been a shrinking violet when it came to gore. I mean, there were just certain scenes in Evil Dead where I was like, "Real God, really?" It just I just wasn't buying it.
Mm-hmm.
I love how he coughs.
By the way, to add insult to injury, so, obviously we have a lot of effect shots here, and Bruce Campbell is right in the middle of most of them. Mm-hmm. He had to memorize a very complex numbering system in order to determine where he needed to be and all of his marks.
Because he was fighting with nothing.
Yeah, nobody was there.
What did you think of Evil Dead, Carlos?
I kind of thought... I mean, I was expecting it to be a straight-up horror film, which is what it was, and it basically takes the storyline of the Evil Dead storyline, and like Steve said, it strips away all the comedy.
Right.
I enjoyed it. I mean, it's definitely a kind of like a reboot, like they've done of like the Texas Chainsaw or some of these, reinterpretations of older classic horror films. Mm-hmm. But the good thing was that because it was such an obscure film, at least I didn't remember every little single aspect of it. So it was pretty surprising about, the story in itself. I like the fact that at the end they throw in the cameo.
The cameo.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a completely different film.
I think, honestly,
it's a straight up horror film, period.
I think the problem with the reboots of the horror films that are by directors whose imprint is all over, like Raimi on Evil Dead, Wes Craven on Nightmare on Elm Street, John Carpenter on Halloween. It's so much more. I mean, these films are so well identified with their directors.
iconic.
They're iconic, and what we're getting are just, I'd say the only one of those that has, I think, that has some character. And again, it's because of a certain director is Rob Zombie's Halloween. I think that one is a little. I kind of like Rob's. Even though his movies are nasty, I do like his style. And whereas the other ones, I just think, they're straight up horror films, and they don't have any of the character that the reboots have. And I would say the same thing about like RoboCop for sci-fi. Paul Verhoeven is so. His vision of that film is such that all you're getting with the reboot is just straight up.
Yeah.
I'll lend you my steel.
There's Ted.
Ted.
Laddie.
Then at a certain point, this film is it kind of just becomes Jason and the Argonauts. It's such an homage to Ray Harryhausen. Say hello to the boys. Now, is this M. Beth Davids? I don't think it is.
I think it is.
You do?
Oh, yeah.
I was always kind of curious.
Yeah.
I love it. And like I said, he just so happens to have all these chemistry textbooks in the trunk. Fangoria. So is he supposed to still be a college student in this? And he's working at S-Mart part time.
Guy's like 32.
It's funny because I remember a friend of mine who he always jokes that when he's a huge horror fan, and a lot of the films that he tried to sort of indoctrinate me into, I was very resistant to, and that one of them was Evil Dead. And I remember he brought it over my house one day and we watched it, and I absolutely hated it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the first one. So, and this was probably 85 or 86. So then Evil Dead 2 comes out in 87. I didn't want to see it in the theater. My friends did. I had no interest in it. And he, sucks me into watching it on video. And I was like, this movie's amazing. But I loved the melding of horror, comedy, whatever, the slapstick element. I've seen Evil Dead 2 so many more times than the first one. I mean, I maybe seen the first one 5 or 6 times at most. Whereas I've seen Evil Dead 2 countless times, and I've seen Army of Darkness the most of all 3.
Mm-hmm.
I find this the most accessible. And there's a different line in the other version.
Yeah, look at this. It's crazy.
The bagpipers with the beards. Now this is the Danny Elfman's March of the Dead. And you can always tell when they're doing the process shots and when they're doing the live,
So apparently Campbell, during the fight sequence, got cut. They take him to the hospital, and the nurse can't tell where's the cut? Because he's got all the makeup on and he's already like, he's got these fake scars on his head. Needless to say, he was fine.
All these dudes are just like, guys in suits.
Or just skeletons,
on sticks.
Like this guy right here.
Nice little hiss.
It's a good combination of stop motion and rod puppets, and costumes.
And guys in costumes, yeah. They you could see like the guy's eyeballs.
Yeah, you saw him. You saw his lip.
Look how bad that looks. I guess maybe some of it's a matte painting. I don't know.
I still haven't figured it out. Well, you said Intravision. Maybe they have it's part of the Intravision system, the way they project the castle.
That could be. I also love how Ash is like this master strategist now.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't exactly Minas Tirith in Two Towers,
Let's blow some dummies.
Ooh.
Ooh.
That's great.
What has that guy been in?
I don't know.
Lord Arthur. I wonder what that would be like though if they merged the two storylines. Like how would they?
Yeah,
how would they balance the comedy, which this is obviously more comedy oriented, with the just terrifying, disgusting horror?
Sally forth.
Oh yeah. That stopped.
So that's stop motion and the
live action, yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's pretty good.
Rocks.
Ooh.
Put your backbones into it. Hmm.
That's great.
It's just absolutely absurd.
Was it like Steam? How was it running?
What is he, Doc Brown?
I mean, you have to hand it to the franchise that they've been able to stretch this much out of it, you know?
Well, I just love that he always had it in his mind to go back to the medieval times.
Mm-hmm. Don't do it, Ash. I think I have the McFarlane
The
Evil Ash.
Evil Ash doll?
Yeah.
I love this. The POV of the spike.
Okay, now let's throw a bunch of skeletons at Bruce.
Yeah, he's fighting a combination of live guys.
Yeah.
And, you know,
It's elaborate.
That's a bitch.
It's Henry the Red.
Come to save the day. It's like Han Solo at the end of Star Wars.
That's right.
You're all clear, kid. Bash those stationary skeletons.
Filled with sand.
So if he gets the book back, what is it going to let him do? Evil Ash.
I guess he could use it to sort of resurrect all the dead and, you know, take over with his army.
This is all Bruce. I mean, come on. Give the guy some credit. He's doing all his own stunts.
Crazy bitch. And he's falling asleep.
Grandpa, wake up!
Is it tea time yet?
We're watching the scary movie.
Scary movie.
Oh, I know the McFarlane Ash came with Little Ash too.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Now, how much of a pain in the ass had this to be for Bruce?
Doing double duty.
Duty.
Like I said, I hope he got paid well. Scares me. And it's also kind of like a Robin Hood, Errol Flynn kind of thing now. Yeah, we've talked about this before. This whole notion of genre mashups, and I think this is another film that has suffered from that. Not only did audiences not know or not care that this is the third in a trilogy, but what do you make of this film?
Mm-hmm.
And Bruce is doing it all. God, this guy.
Oh.
Yeah, here's where it gets really Harryhausen. I love how the skull has eyeballs. Yeah, this had to be. Look at this. He's fighting live elements. I do remember thinking that this looked kind of cheesy even back then.
Yeah.
But not that it, bothered me. What? Why does he explode?
Well, and as far as the production is concerned, to make matters worse, they were shooting mostly at night during the summer, so they had limited time in which to get all the photography.
And she's hot again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're all friends now.
The Sharks and the Jets.
And he's brought us to great peace.
This is the William Wallace moment.
Yes.
It does look really grainy.
Yeah, I mean, certain shots, it's just like, holy cow.
I wonder if the DVD has the same problem.
I don't remember it being that. Dude, seriously.
It's downstairs.
It's a tenant.
Did Jason find the golden fleece?
He did.
Yay. Uh-oh.
So Carlos, you actually went to Introvision?
Yes.
How did you get in there?
Again, this was one of these connections I had back then to just go visit the facility.
But
And
you
like I
weren't,
said,
like, how
you
did you
weren't
get
even
in
in college yet. You were in high school.
I was in high school. Yeah, my mom knew somebody who knew somebody who knew
Right.
somebody.
Jesus.
So you go there. Did somebody like give you a tour?
Yeah, they gave me
or-
the it was either like the secretary or the president of the company. They were doing like the tour for like they do, I guess, to 1 million either newspapers or VIPs or something.
But you were by yourself? There weren't
No,
other
me and my
people?
mom.
Oh, just you and your mom. Jeez.
And I don't think any of these companies exist anymore.
But so did you see like the screens and like they show you the Scotch light
I think
material?
what I remember
and
was
all
they
that
showed
stuff?
us like a clip reel of the best work they've done.
Yeah.
And some of their equipment, because a lot of the stuff they did is like I think it's on site.
Mm-hmm. It's dead.
Hey.
Apparently, the role of his manager was to be played by Charles Napier.
Huh.
Blues Brothers. Rambo.
Mm-hmm.
Who's this lovely young lady?
You think that's what you're telling me again?
No, I don't think so.
Kind of like fun eating the corn on the cob with no fucking teeth.
Does anybody take notice of his hand?
His medieval chain
Chainmail
mail hand.
That's great. The Deadites are very agile.
They're acrobatic. Yeah. I swallow your soul. I swallow your soul.
All of this. Jesus, just happens to be
trampoline.
there. Nice shirt there, Ash.
Hail to the king, baby.
Now, it's funny. You compare this to the other ending, which I'm sure people know. Ash is...
he oversleeps.
He oversleeps. He drinks too much of the potion. He oversleeps. He wakes up, and the world is a post-apocalyptic wasteland. And it's funny because I like both of them equally.
Yeah.
I know this was the reshoot, but I can handle both of them. I think they're both valid.
Well, the other ending, I guess, teases you for a possible sequel. I guess. This one is a little more.
I mean,
definitive.
you could have gone to a sequel in either way, but yeah, that one, that would have put him in another ridiculous situation.
Wow, they co-produced it.
Wow. Joseph LaDuca, that's right. I guess they could only afford one piece of music from Danny.
Is that the deal? Oh my God, William Mess. I think that might have been the guy.
Nicotero and Kurt KNB.
Sheesh.
So I stand by my. I like this one the best. This is my favorite.
I'm sticking with ED2.
Okay. Patricia Tallman, I was right.
Yeah, very good. Wow, that was good. Because we didn't really see her without the makeup on.
No. And Deadeye Captain Bill Moseley, I think he's been in some of the Rob Zombie movies. I think.
William Lustig. Why do I know that name?
Is he William Lustig? Didn't he direct some horror movies?
Hold on. He played one of the fake shemps.
Now this movie, I mean, obviously,
producer of Maniac.
Right.
Jeez. This movie and the prequels, I guess if you want to call them, they have a very long life in conventions.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I mean,
yes, there is some merchandising, but just the following.
Oh, Bruce Campbell, I would say, it's maybe a tie between Bruce Campbell and Robert Englund in terms of who is the most popular convention guest. I mean, the lines, these guys, they're like rock stars. And Campbell especially, I mean, Robert Englund is a very nice guy. But Bruce, and I know, we've met him, but I've never seen him in a convention setting. And he gets up and he just kills it. I've seen his shtick on YouTube, and his interaction with the audience, and he always wears these loud jackets, and he takes pictures. When they do the photo ops, it's funny. I remember I met him in the most bizarre setting possible, and it was in a sort of a professional setting. And I asked him if I could take a picture with him, and I said, he said sure, but he's like, okay, I'm going to do this and you do that. And I kept screwing it up. So I have 3 pictures with Bruce Campbell where he's doing different poses every time. I mean, I look kind of like an idiot, but he's just like, he's doing all these things. And you see that now. I see people post pictures of themselves with him on Facebook. Yeah. And he always makes each picture different.
I saw him at the one of these New York Comic Cons that I went to. And yeah, you're right. He's on and he's there and he destroys the crowd. He's hilarious and people hilarious. They love him. But the time that Steve and I actually, I don't know if I mentioned this in a previous podcast, was for a book signing of his first book, and I was there. Steve was there, and I had my son with me, who at the time was probably 2 years old, in a stroller, and he does his Q&A before he does his signing. So he's telling stories and doing the Q&A. And for some weird reason, every time he would do a joke or something and everybody would laugh, my son was kind of on delay. because my son would wait like 20 seconds after everybody had quieted down, and then he would start laughing. And it was really awkward and weird. And every now and then, people, even Bruce would look like, what's going on over there? What's wrong with that kid? And I had to leave because it was, my son was young.
Distracted.
And he was losing it. I had to get him out of the store, but I hadn't gotten my picture, my book autographed. And Steve, you can tell him, he stayed to get his autograph.
Yeah, so I waited online. And it was funny. I mean, literally, everybody would laugh because he would tell a joke. And then, like, a beat later, Kyle would start laughing. And loud. And so he started, like, recognizing that he kept laughing. And he would comment on it, before he would get on to the next question. So, so I went up to him after, and I had him sign my book and the book for Carlos. And I said, my son had to go outside with his son. He was the one who was laughing at all your jokes. And he was like, that kid was great. Get him back in here.
That's great.
He says, I need to have him at every one of my appearances because sometimes they don't laugh like that.
He just had to get the timing right. He wasn't used to the time of actually laughing after the joke, not way later after the joke.
Right.
But again...
it has the alternate ending here.
Yeah, it's got both. That's cool. Well, like I said before, this has been a real treat. We are hoping to maybe do some future, not just Raimi, but maybe some other. I know that Steve would love to do Bubba Hotep.
We don't have to do that.
No, that's all right.
That's okay.
But I'd like to thank Steve and Steve for joining me today.
Hopefully Carlos will not fall asleep.
Listen,
hopefully he'll be awake for the whole
Did we do Aliens yet? We got to do an
No, we
Aliens
need to do Aliens.
commentary.
No,
I'll keep him awake.
He'll stay awake, or Terminator, or Near Dark.
There we go.
When you're in your 60s, you'll be... wait a minute. Am I in my 60s? No, I'm not in my 60s. Okay. Never mind. I will see you guys here soon. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, we will see you soon. Bye-bye.
I'm bad, Ash. And you're good, Ash. You're goody little two shoes. You're goody little two shoes, goody little two shoes. Little goody two shoes, little goody two shoes, little goody two shoes, little goody two shoes, little goody two shoes. Little goody two shoes.
Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
I think Tony has a Necronomicon. Let's see if I can get it off of him. And he's falling asleep.
Grandpa, wake up.
Is it tea time yet?
We're watching the scary movie.
The scary movie.
Oh.
Doing double duty?
Doing double duty. Dude, seriously.
It's downstairs.
It's a tenant.
I swallow your soul. I swallow your soul.
All of this.